Last time we talked about direct and inverse variations. We also solved a couple of problems regarding that topic. If you missed that video, I will link it down in the description below. Today, we will talk about the combination of direct and inverse variations, and we called it joint variations. Stay tuned. Before we proceed to our lesson, I want to invite you to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you will be updated whenever we publish new videos. Okay, let's start. In the real world, we normally deal with situations more complicated than direct and inverse variations. One variable often depends on multiple other variables. When a variable is dependent on the product or quotient of two or more variables, this is called joint variations. In direct variation, we express the relationship of independent and dependent variables as y is equal to k times x, where k is a certain constant, x is the independent variable, and y is the dependent variable. In inverse variation, we express the relationship of independent and dependent variables as y is equal to k divided by x, where k is a certain constant, x is the independent variable, and y is the dependent variable. In joint variation, we have to be very careful in understanding the problem. The dependent variable can be depending on more than one direct variable or more than one inverse variable or a combination of direct and inverse variables. So in terms of equations, joint variations can be expressed as y is equal to kab, or y is equal to k divided by a and b, or y is equal to k times a divided by b, where y is the dependent variable, k is the constant, and a and b are independent variables. So how do we solve problems like this? First, we have to establish the relationship of different variables and the constant k. This is where we write the equation. Second, we have to write down all the given in the problem. This will help us not to miss any important information that we will need in order to solve the problem. Then we have to compute the value of k, and once we have the value of k, then we can solve for the variable that is being asked in the problem. Before we proceed on solving joint variation problems, I just want to inform you guys that in case you need help on your math subjects, we offer online math tutorial services. You can inform your parents about us and check our details on our Facebook page and send us a message from there. I will link our Facebook page in the description below. Going back to our lesson, for our first and easy example, y varies jointly as x and z. If x is equal to negative 2 and y is equal to 3 and z is equal to negative 4, find z when x is equal to 6 and y is equal to 2. So the first thing that we should do is to write the equation. Notice that the problem did not specify if y varies directly or inversely with x and z. For situations like this, the best way is to ask your teacher and clarify. However, normally, if the problem does not specify the relationship, it is usually assumed to be directly proportional. With that, we can write the equation as y is equal to k times x times z. Now let's write the values of other variables. So for x, it says the value is 2. For y is 3. For z, that's negative 4. Then we also have another set, the second set. So let's write x, y, and z. For x is negative 6, y is 2, and then we have to find the value of z. So how do we solve this? So this is our first set, set 1, and this is our set 2. Okay, so let's use set 1 first to get the value of k. So we have y is equal to k x z, and then it says here that y is equal to 3. We don't know k, x is negative 2, and z is negative 4. So from here, we can see that 3 is equal to negative 2 times negative 4, that's positive 8. So we will have 8k here. So for us to isolate k, we just need to divide both sides by 8. So k is equal to 3 over 8. Now, we have to substitute this k to the second set of values. So let's go to y. Let's write the equation again. Y is equal to kxz. Y is equal to 2. K is 3 over 8. X is negative 6. And then z. Let's simplify the values on the right side. So we have 2 is equal to 3 times negative 6. That's negative 18 over 8 z. So how do we get rid of the denominator 8? We just need to multiply both sides by 8. So we will have 2 times 8 is equal to 18 over 8 times 8z. So from here, we can cancel this. So we have 2 times 8, that's 16, is equal to negative 18z. How do we get rid of negative 18? We have to divide both sides by negative 18. Okay, so we can cancel this. So in short, z is equal to negative 16 over 18. However, negative 16 is actually 2 times negative 8, and 18 is 2 times negative 9. So from here, we can cancel the 2, and then we can see that z is equal to negative 8 over 9. So this is the answer to the first problem. For our second problem and slightly difficult example, the volume of gas varies directly as the temperature and inversely as the pressure. If the volume is 180 centimeter cube when the temperature is 270 Kelvin and the pressure is 15 pounds per centimeter squared, what is the volume when the temperature is 220 Kelvin and the pressure is 25 pounds per centimeter squared? So what variables do we have for the second example? So we have gas. Let's call gas as G. We also have temperature. For temperature, let's call that T. We also have pressure. Let's call pressure P. And for our equation, it tells us that the volume of gas, or G, varies directly as the temperature. So we have the constant K and then temperature, and inversely as the pressure. So divided by P. Okay, now let's write the given information. So we have G, we have T, we have P. So the first one, for G, for the gas, the volume of gas, we have 180 centimeter cube. For temperature, we have 270 Kelvin. And for pressure is 15 pounds per centimeter squared. And then there's another set of given values. So we have gas, temperature, and pressure. And based on the problem, we need to find the value of the volume of gas, given that the temperature is 220 Kelvin and the pressure is 25 pounds per centimeter squared. Okay, so how do we solve this? Again, using the first set of values, we have to calculate K. Okay, so the equation is G times K times T. G is equal to K times T over P, and then based on the given, the volume of gas, or G, is 180. We have K, the temperature is 270, and then the pressure is 15. So from here, how do we isolate K? So we have to we have to multiply both sides by 15. So we will have 180 times 15 is equal to K 270 divided by 15 times 15. So from here, we can cancel this. And then how do we isolate K again? How do we remove 270? We have to divide both sides by 270. So we will have 180, 15, 270 is equal to 270 K divided by 270. So we can cancel this. In short, K is equal to 180 times 15 divided by 270, or 10. K is equal to 10. Now, what's the next step? We have to substitute K, this one, to the second set of given values. So we have G is equal to K T over P. G, we have to look for G. K is 10, the temperature is 220, and then the pressure is 25. Okay, so from here we will be able to compute that G, or the volume of gas, is 88 cubic centimeter. Okay? Our third and relatively difficult example, assume that A is directly proportional to B squared and inversely to C squared. If B is increased by 10% and C is decreased by 10%, what is the percentage of increase in A? Let's not get too intimidated by the given values because there's a squared in one of the in the given. Okay, so first, let's write the equation. So from the given, we can say that A is equal to K times B squared over C squared. Okay? Based from the given, it also tells us that B increased by 10%. So how do we express that? So we can say that maybe we can write that we have B2. B2 is 10% bigger than B1 or 100% plus 10% of B1. Okay? In short, B2 is equal to 1.1 of B1. Okay? In the given that C decreased by 10%. So we can also write that as C2 is equal to 100% minus 10% of C1. In short, C2 is equal to 0.09 of C1. Okay? The problem is asking us to find the percentage of increase in A given the changes in B1 and C1. So how do we express that? So we can write A2 is equal to 100% plus X% times A1. Okay? So how do we find that X%? Obviously, we can express A1 as K times B1 squared over C1 squared. And we can also express A2 as K times B2 squared divided by C2 squared. However, we are given the values of B2 and B1 and C2 and C1. So we can substitute that from this. Okay? So let's try that. So we can write A2 as K. What is B2 again? B2 is 1.1 B1 squared and divided by 0.9 C1 squared. Okay, so now let's distribute the exponent. So A2 is equal to K. A2 is equal to K times 1.1 squared B1 squared divided by 0.9 squared C1 squared. Okay, we can also write this as A is equal to 1.1 squared divided by 0.9 squared times K B1 squared divided by C1 squared. However, this whole part of the equation is actually equal to A1, right? So we can write A2, we can simplify A2 as 1.1 squared divided by 0.9 squared times A1. Okay? Now let's evaluate this whole constant. Okay? So A2 is equal to 1.21 divided by 0.81 A1, or this is actually equal to 1.49 A1. In short, we can express A2 as 100% plus 49% of A1. Therefore, the answer to the question is 49%. Okay? Aside from subscribing to our YouTube channel, I would like to ask you to like and follow us on our Facebook page as well. The link is in the description below. I hope you learned something today. I hope this video helped you understand the concept of joint variations better. I encourage you to share this video with your friends and classmates so they can benefit as well. And if there are some math concepts that you feel are too difficult, tell us in the comment section below so we can consider making videos about that soon. Let's make things simple.